I need you to slow down with me for a second, because in the last 5 days something happened that got covered as three unrelated regional stories. And I think that framing is not just wrong. I think it's the whole reason people can't see the shape of what's forming. CNN ran one of these as a Gulf security item. The BBC ran another as a defense procurement story. Al Jazeera ran the third as a diplomacy piece. 3 desks, 3 angles, 0 cross-reference. I'm going to connect them for you today, and then I want you to go check my work yourself, because that's the only way any of this is worth anything. Here are the 3 events, just the facts. Event 1. Iran's foreign ministry confirms a new standing arms logistics and repair understanding with a Central Asian defense contractor tied to Chinese state industry, allowing Iranian naval assets damaged in recent strikes to be serviced outside Iranian territory, quietly, without violating anyone's stated sanctions regime on paper. Event 2. Gulf Cooperation Council finance ministers hold an unscheduled closed-door session, and within 48 hours, 2 Gulf sovereign wealth funds pause new dollar-denominated defense procurement, pending what one official called on background a structural review. Event 3. A joint Russian-Chinese naval logistics vessel is spotted, tracked by open-source shipping data, docking at a port facility on the Iranian coast that has never before hosted a foreign logistics ship of that class. 3 theaters: defense industry, sovereign finance, naval logistics. Treated as unconnected. I'm telling you, they're one move, executed in sequence, and the framework I want to give you today is what I call the quiet decoupling doctrine. Here's the idea. Picture the Gulf as a bridge, and for 80 years one single engineer has been the only one allowed to inspect and repair it: Washington. What's happening right now is that a second engineering firm has quietly opened a competing office at the other end of the bridge, and it isn't announcing itself with fireworks. It's announcing itself with paperwork, shipping manifests, and finance ministry memos that nobody outside a Bloomberg terminal is reading closely. Let's take the naval logistics piece first, because I think it's the most underappreciated. A repair and resupply arrangement sounds boring. It is not boring. It means Iranian naval assets no longer need to survive on domestic capacity alone, which has been the single biggest operational constraint on Tehran's ability to sustain pressure in the Strait of Hormuz over a long campaign. Remove that constraint, even partially, and you change the entire attrition calculus for anyone trying to wait Iran out. Now the finance piece. Gulf sovereign wealth funds don't pause procurement for no reason. When 2 funds independently freeze new dollar-denominated defense purchases in the same week that a naval logistics arrangement between Iran and a Chinese-linked contractor becomes public, that is not coincidence. That is a hedge. Gulf finance ministries are not taking sides. They're doing what capital always does when it smells uncertainty. It waits, and it quietly prices in a world where the security guarantor might not be singular anymore. And here's the diplomatic layer underneath both. None of this is happening in a vacuum. It's happening against a backdrop where Washington's own regional partners have spent the last several weeks watching signed agreements get renegotiated in public, watching timelines slip, watching conditions attached after the fact. You don't need a leak cable to understand what that does to trust. You need a calendar. Let me steal the counterargument, because I always want to give you the strongest version of the case that I'm wrong. Someone will say, this is one repair contract, one finance ministry meeting, one shipping manifest. Gulf states hedge constantly. That's just prudent portfolio management, and none of it means anyone is abandoning the American security umbrella. The American Fifth Fleet is still there. Nothing has actually changed on the ground. That's a fair point, and I want to be honest about it. None of these 3 events alone is dramatic. But watch what happens when you stack them in the same 5-day window instead of scattering them across 3 separate news cycles. A logistics constraint on Iran eases. Gulf capital starts hedging. A joint Russian-Chinese vessel docks somewhere it's never docked before. None of these are proof of a finished alliance. All 3 together are proof of a direction. So here's what I'm watching over the next 2 weeks. 3 indicators, not predictions. 1. Whether that Iranian port sees a second visit from a similar class vessel. 1 visit is a data point. 2 is a pattern. 2. Whether any additional Gulf sovereign fund joins the procurement pause. If it stays at 2, this is noise. If it becomes 4 or 5, this is a block-level signal. 3. Whether Washington responds with reassurance diplomacy, new bilateral guarantees, high-level visits, or with silence. Silence tells you more than any statement would. Here's your homework. Pull the open-source shipping data yourself and track that vessel's port history. Read the GCC Finance Ministry statements in full, not the summary. And watch whether any Gulf official, on or off the record, uses the word diversify in the next month. That word, in this context, is never accidental. I'll leave you with the actual question, not a rhetorical one. When your security guarantor's own agreements start feeling negotiable, and a competing guarantor shows up not with tanks, but with repair contracts and dockage, at what point does hedging stop being prudence and start being a quiet, permanent decision? I think the data over these 5 days suggests that decision is already being made. See you in the next one.